Hey everyone, it's Menenberg coming at you again to break down the short answer question, the SAQ. In the earlier video, I gave you kind of a broad overview, and if you didn't watch that one, I'll just summarize real quickly. The SAQ, or short answer section of the AP exam, that's APUSH, AP Modern World History, AP European History, is 20% of your overall grade for the AP exam. There are 9 total prompts that you're going to have to answer. It's 3 questions total, but each one has 3 prompts, so it's 9 total, and you have 40 minutes to do so. I'm going to suggest that you use the ACE formula to answer these prompts. Each A, B, and C needs you to A.C.E, needs you to ace it, okay? And we're going to break down the A, or answer, of the question in this video here. And then later videos, we'll go through the citing specific evidence and expanding or explaining on that evidence. Okay, so let's bring up a prompt. Now I'm going to read this. This prompt is actually from an older iteration of AP World History. It's from an ancient period of time that you're not forced to study right now, but the principles still apply, so bear with me. The prompt says this. It says, analyze 1 reason why the Mandated Heaven was developed by the Zhou dynasty in China. Okay? So you got a few components I want to break down in the prompt before we continue on the answer of the question. In the previous video, I really highlighted how critical it was that you understood what the task that you were being asked to do was. And if you don't understand that, you are going to struggle mightily. So let's break this down. Our verb, we have 2. Okay, we have the first verb is analyze, okay? Analyze. How many? 1. Okay, now the reason I say that is because oftentimes students think you're going to be impressing somebody like your teacher or the reader with a bunch of historical knowledge. You're not. I mean, I might be like, wow, this kid knows their stuff. It's still the same amount of points. You don't get bonus points on the AP exam, people. 1. 1 is all you need. 1 is all you got to give. One reason why, okay, this is an important word I want to stay on for a minute, why the Mandated Heaven, so that's a specific thing, was developed by the Zhou dynasty. That's a specific time period, group of people controlling government of China. In China, that's a specific place. Okay, that means it didn't happen in Mesoamerica. That means it didn't happen in Europe. Okay, you got to pay attention to these things because in your answer, if you start rambling on about Louis XIV in France, not the answer to this question at all. Not even, well, might be a little close of a comparison, but not what we're looking for here. Okay? One reason why the Mandate of Heaven was developed. That's what we're looking for. One reason, we got to figure out why they did it. What was the purpose? What was the goal here? Okay? So, I'm going to give you 3 different options for the answer portion of this. Remember, answering the question is not giving the specific evidence, but it is giving a specific answer. In other words, somebody asks you a question, you give them an answer. You know how politicians will get and start rambling and start talking about things that weren't really asked of them? We don't want to do that for this. We want to get to the point on the SAQ. So the first option is this. The Mandate of Heaven was developed by the Zhou dynasty. Does that work? Yes and no. Yes, it works insofar as it's factual and it's accurate and it's related to the topic of the prompt. But no, it doesn't work because it doesn't answer what the prompt is asking. The prompt is not asking what the mandate or who the Mandate of Heaven was developed by. It doesn't say analyze who the mandate was developed by. It says why was the mandate developed by them. Okay, so you're not giving me any new information. That's not to say you can't include this, but with limited space, you don't need this. You just don't. So 1 doesn't really work. Number 2. One reason why the Mandate of Heaven was developed by the Zhou dynasty was to legitimize the rule of the emperor. That sounds pretty good. I think we're going to check that one off because it does say why. It does include the specific term. It does mention, like the prompt, it mentions the Zhou dynasty. And here's the why. One reason why was to what? Legitimize or make logical or make reasonable or to prove authenticity, whatever it is, to legitimize the rule of the emperor. In other words, their dude got put in power. They needed to explain to all the people why it's okay. They can't just be like, here he's in charge, and we're like, no, he's not. But if they give a good reason for that, the Mandate of Heaven, that's their reason, then they're going to say, okay, maybe we'll follow this guy. So that works. Last one, the Mandate of Heaven, created by the Zhou dynasty, said that rulers were chosen by heaven. Again, this is factual, but it doesn't address the prompt. It tells me not why, but what. It says what the Mandate of Heaven was, and we are not interested in that for the purpose of this prompt. You might get a prompt that asks you what you're not going to get a prompt, but you might get a what question. Not with the mandate, but what. And that will be appropriate in that case. But in this case, we're looking for why. They gave me a what, not really what we're going for. Okay, so option number 2 is what we're looking for. Okay? A couple common errors for this. Doesn't answer the question. I kind of went over that. You answer something else that wasn't asked, like what. Doesn't use keywords from the question or prompt. Now, this is more of a suggestion than a mandate, no pun intended. You really should incorporate that. And that, again, just demonstrates to you, but more importantly to the reader, that you know what you're about to say is corresponding to the prompt that has been asked. I would strongly suggest it because it does guide your writing pretty well. It relies on a quote from the prompt. I mentioned this in an earlier video. You do not ever need to quote for your SAQ. 2 of your SAQs are stimulus-based, meaning there will be quotes in there to draw from if you were so inclined, but it doesn't help you at all. It hurts you because it takes time, and more importantly, it takes space, so don't quote. Okay? Wrong time period. This is huge. So in our earlier prompt about the Zhou dynasty, that's a fixed bracket of time. For those of you who are just starting the AP World class, there's a bunch of dynasties in China. The Zhou were pretty early, and you're going to get to stuff like in the Song and the Tang and the Qin and the Sui, all these other dynasties. And if you talk about something that happened during the Sui dynasty, for example, and the prompt is asking about the Zhou dynasty, that's wrong. Even if everything you said about the Sui dynasty is correct, you got that question wrong. So don't mess with the time period. This is why it's important to pay attention to when stuff happens, the sequence, maybe not the exact date, but the sequence of events is going to be really important for these questions. Okay? Wrong location, same idea. So if I, again, am talking about Louis XIV of France instead of the Zhou dynasty of China, those are 2 separate kingdoms, separate time periods, separate continents. Pay attention to that, people. You don't want to waste the information they gave you in the prompt. If the prompt says China, stick with China. Stay in China. Okay? If the prompt says the Zhou dynasty, don't go to the Sui dynasty. You want to stay with the Zhou. Okay? And not specific enough. So if I just say the Chinese used the mandate of heaven because they wanted to do this, that's not specific enough because, again, there were many, many, many dynasties in China. We're talking specifically about the Zhou. Why did the Zhou dynasty of China use the mandate of heaven? You've got to get specific and get as specific as you can with accuracy. So if you're not sure, you can stay broad and hope they'll be generous, but it's really going to be to your benefit if you can really zero in. And a good rule of thumb I like to tell students is that if I could change, if I could use my exact same answer for a different prompt, it's probably not specific enough. Okay? You really got to think about those journalistic questions, the who, the what, the when, the where, that type of stuff, and lock as many of those down as you can for the SAQ, and you'll probably get specific enough to get the point. Okay? Now, we're going to get into our next video for citing the evidence. I'm going to save that for next time, but if you have questions at this point, please comment or send me a note. I'll do my best to help you. Menenberg, I'll see you later.